Hello and welcome to the Main Straight, the official F1 in Schools podcast with me, your host, Tom Deacon. How are you? Are you well? And welcome back to another episode. I'm very excited about today's offering for you. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll tell you what's coming up so you can get excited today. It's an exclusive collaboration episode. The Main Straight comes together with the Off the Track guys to talk about everything that happened at the Aramco F1 in Schools World Finals 2023 in Singapore. Plus, we'll also have an exclusive interview with the newly crowned world champions, Recoil Racing. This episode is definitely going to give you a 360-degree perspective from a judge, a team, and the host themselves, F1 in Schools. It's definitely going to be your one-stop listen to catch up and deconstruct everything that happened in Singapore this September. I think you all saw what I did there when I said deconstruct, because I'm Tom Deacon. Deconstruct. Look, we haven't got time to explain all of those points. Maybe I won't do that for the rest of the episode. And if there's time today, we'll get some of your questions that you very kindly sent in. So what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. Let's welcome our guests. All right, so let's meet the guys. Welcome to the episode, Recoil Racing. We have Peter Russell from Off the Track, and we also have from Global Operations at F1 in Schools, Nelson Vale. Recoil Racing, let's get to it. You're here. You've been crowned world champions in September. I guess I'll come to Benno first, who's with us, and Timon, and Marlene, and Amelie. Let's talk about this then. You've had time for it to be digested, being world champions. I'm sure you've been asked many a time, what does it feel like? I remember when you were on the podium and you said you were lost for words. Well, hopefully you are not lost for words right now. Benno, what's it like being world champions? Has it sunk in yet?
I mean, it's still like, you can't really describe it. It's awesome. It's like a really awesome feeling. It's like blows your mind every time you think about it. Even like we had like a sponsor evening in our school where we watched our highlight video, and like every time we hear like the words, everything tingles still. So
that's awesome. And in terms of the media, of they obviously your pros now are being interviewed, not only when I interviewed you and Amy Manta did during the competition, but you probably this is old for you now. You're so used to it, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's still, or at least I'm still a bit nervous every time.
What about you, Timon? You got used to it now, being interviewed all the time?
Well, I think I definitely got a lot better at it, especially because of all the interviews at the competition, but also preparing for it. And then afterwards, we had some media interviews, like especially directly after the competition. It was pretty harsh. So yeah, I think I definitely I'm a lot more used to it now.
When you say harsh, do you mean there was one beautiful moment? I remember this, Marlene and Amelie, as well. I'm sure you do. In the paddock during the Singapore Grand Prix, you had to run from one side of the track to the other in that heat to do one interview. Do you remember that moment, Marlene?
Yes, I do. It was, I don't know, we just had 2 interviews that evening. It wasn't even like that much of a schedule, but yeah, it was close enough, the 2 interviews that we had to run from one to another.
And what is it like conveying, Amelie, the difficulty, the time, the work, the blood, sweat and tears that go into becoming world champions? Have you been able to convey that?
I think I'm not sure what conveying means right now. Maybe that's another problem, because as you probably know, English is not our first language. So I think what we definitely learned is that it's not about speaking English perfectly, but about just having fun and being relaxed in interviews. And I think we've improved a lot in that.
Okay. And what would you say gave you that edge, Benno, in the competition?
I think we were just trying to optimize everything to the scorecards. We have our scorecard genius, Timon, here. Every time we did the verbal presentation or read any portfolio, it was like always, we didn't do project management correctly. We didn't do initiating. There's a point missing there. We should definitely write something about that. And it's just like these perfecting like the optimization process is, I think, one of the biggest components.
It's definitely something I know a lot of the teams in the World Finals will be coming away from the competition looking at and thinking, right, we could have changed things. In terms of the engineering, there was a rules reset What did this mean for teams and their designs, and how did it affect you?
I think it's a really cool idea to do that every now and then. Just then you have like a complete revamp of the cars. You can't really copy everything of the past teams or like take ideas. And I think it just brings so much new to the competition. Yeah.
Timon, what implications did it have for the speed of the car, the aerodynamics, the weight?
Yeah, so it actually had a bigger impact than we thought it would have on the overall race times at the competition. And for us, the weight was definitely the biggest challenge because we like designed a car after like we had 3.5 months between nationals and world finals. So like the first month we designed a car, and then we noticed we were never gonna get the weight to 50 grams, and then we screwed it over, and Marlene designed a car in like 1 week, like working all the time, and then we worked with that, and that was our final car. So the weight definitely was the biggest challenge, and then also in combination with the halo, because the halo has to be solid. It has to withstand the tests and be used as deceleration system, but it also has to be light because like an extra 2 to 3, maybe even 5 grams is a lot. So yeah.
Marlene, a whole week. That's not very long to do that design and make everything as perfect as you managed to do it. What was that like that week?
It wasn't a week. He was just talking about when we said, okay, this design concept will never work. I was like, I'm gonna do a new car, and I did that over the weekend, I think. But then we had like another 2 to 3 weeks to optimize it, and after that manufacture it. So it wasn't just 1 week.
Okay.
But it was a bit rushed.
Yeah, I love the idea, just seeing the inside. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall. Marlene just sketches that whole weekend, maybe no food, no drink, just sketching the whole time to make it perfect. So you had all that time for the optimization, but is there anything you would change looking back on it now?
Yes, because that first version of the car, it was like we took many ideas from cars we had seen from other teams. Like there are design concepts which many teams use, and we thought, yes, it's their arguments for these concepts are reasonable, and we'll take them and then optimize them in our way. And I think we took too much inspiration from other teams there, and then that design concept didn't work at all. And then we did a new one, and we just began from zero. Well, we did like the whole new concept and just took our own ideas, and I think that was a better way to design the car. So I think that's a mistake we did, and I would definitely not take too much inspiration from other teams, but just think about what you want to do with the car. And yeah.
Well, I can say one thing. There was definitely no mistakes in your merchandise for the World Finals. For those listening on the podcast, you cannot see, I've just put on the Recoil Racing sunglasses, which I have worn non-stop when it's been sunny. Singapore was different with the beautiful sunshine. Back in the UK, it's just been mainly raining. But I love these, and it definitely gave a little bit of brand and team identity. Listen, there is a guy who's waiting to talk right now. I watched all of his social media content for Off the Track. A lot of it was spent in the pool, but maybe he can correct me on that. Let's talk to Peter Russ from Off the Track. You were a judge in the competition. What did you make of the whole competition as a whole? And before we get down to the nitty gritty of judging.
I love the competition as a whole. It was fantastic to be back in person. It had been 7 years since I'd last stepped into a World Finals venue. It was absolutely amazing. The production quality of it was fantastic, but the teams as well. So many teams. But it was really, really good. Really, really fun. I had loads of fun from a judging perspective. And also just being there, besides just being there as a judge, it was just really, really fun to be there.
Yeah, fun is definitely one way to describe it. Another way is absolute frustration, anxiety, stress levels through the roof. For a judge, was it a stressful experience?
Not particularly. Knowing that I was, look, because I've known what it's been like to be on the competitor's side, I know their stress levels far outweigh what the judges would be going through. But look, you do feel the weight of, being fair as a judge, particularly as an ex-competitor. You want to really, give the teams the time that they deserve to be able to explain what they're going through. You want to read what they've done at length. And so you do feel kind of that pressure of, is this mark that we're giving them going to be the right one? But look, we're all very, very rigorous and it's a very fair process. So yeah, no, but you do feel that pressure, definitely.
Okay. Did feel the pressure just a little bit, but everyone seemed to be having such an incredible time, even though they felt the intensity of the competition. But at the same time, was there anything you noticed as a judge, the things that cropped up that you said, oh, another team's done this particular thing?
Nothing that stands out particularly. I think a lot of teams sort of lose sight that the judges, they don't have, 5 hours to read on a portfolio. So being concise with how you communicate is critical, not just for, F1 in schools, but in, day-to-day life. You've got to be able to communicate concisely. No one wants to be reading, essays every day, long emails. A few of us have been there. We don't want to read a massive email. So it's the same thing with portfolios. You want to be, concise with them. That's the main thing I would say to competitors.
Concise. I like that. That's something I definitely need to take on board more in my life. Changes in the new rules, Peter, positive and not positive. What did you notice?
I think overall positive. Look, going into it, there was a bit of skepticism from some competitors and some people involved with the competition, as off the track listeners will know. But on the whole, seeing it in person, yes, mostly positive, I would say. I think in my side of things, I'm more of an enterprise person, and the pit display regulations, whereas I was like, is the quality of the pit displays going to be up there with how they used to be? And they were. If you had told me beforehand that there were trade display packaging restrictions, I wouldn't have known, because the trade displays, the pit displays rather, were right up there with how they used to be. So yeah, no, I think they're definitely positive changes. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see what teams come up with next year.
Now, we welcome back to the Main Straight podcast, and also a guest on Off the Track podcast, the one and only Nelson Vale.
You cannot be the only privileged one to use fashion accessories. So for everyone that is not watching, I also have a little bit of merch from the team, and this was provided by Andrew. Thank you, Andrew.
Fantastic.
Coming back. Yeah, I mean, it was a challenging event. Of course, it was with our record number of teams. But look, it was super exciting to come back into a full physical format and feel finally normality after a different and difficult couple of years. So it was above all super fun to come to the place that I love the most, Singapore, for the World Finals. I have to admit. But yeah, and if the team that is here with us, if they were totally deserving to win it, they definitely were. I was expecting for German teams to be in the top place of the podium for many years now, and they were marginally missing it. But congrats, guys! You guys did it. So it's totally deserving.
Oh, that is I absolutely second those words, Nelson. All the teams were incredible to meet in Singapore, and I say I'm going to put this in now. The most difficult job for me is to meet every team, every person, chat to them throughout the 3 days, and then wait for the awards. And it's probably the worst moment for me, that gut-wrenching moment where you've got to know everybody a little bit. And I kept meeting Recoil Racing, and they brought their huge car model, which lost wheels at certain points. The halo stuck on for the whole time. So well done on that. But you meet these guys and then you see them succeed. I'm like a proud parent in some respects. I'm like, yeah, they've absolutely smashed it. They deserve it. And then as soon as you see that number one place go to a team, you suddenly realize all the other teams you've met have missed out, and it's the worst feeling. But then at the same time, you look back on those 3 days, and to get to a world final is just such an incredible achievement for all of the teams. So I have that kind of mixed feeling during the competition. But while you're here, Nelson, I do want to ask you about those changes and provide a little bit of insight into why the changes were made and how you think the students adapted, whether they met or surpassed the expectations that F1 in schools thought they would have.
Look, it was when we decided that the regulations needed a revamp and a twist to make things more challenging for everyone. Of course, I'm like I don't remember now who was mentioning it, if it was Peter or one of the team members, but when things stay the same way for long, it's easier for people to be tempted to just follow with the same standard of project. If it's kind of similar, the car design, you go and get inspired on a winner design. I mean, when you mix things up, like bringing new regulations, especially when we brought the Halo, because we wanted the cars to become more with an F1 look. You know, some people resist the change, and I think, Peter, we had a whole episode on that, and you guys off the track discussed it in detail. But you know, in the end, change is good. Change is good. I think the cars look great. I think the teams embraced the challenge. Again, I'm not disappointed at all, because I think they all did a great job. I mean, the world champions had to adjust in a very short amount of time, from a design with no halo to a design with a halo, and look how they did in just a few weeks. And it's not just the design adjustment. When you're trying to reach minimum weight, other factors come on in terms, and they need to look at manufacturing techniques and the use of materials and rethink everything. But that was about the car. But like Peter was mentioning about the pit displays, again, there was a lot of thought going into the pit displays. Pit displays in F1 schools world finals, they always look amazing. But just as recalling back to 2019 in Abu Dhabi, we had a big issue with the quantity of trash being produced by the end of the event. And we know that our students are better than that. I mean, pushing a little bit more about sustainability just made a lot of brainstorming processes for the students. And they just realized, yeah, we can do the same quality visual pit display and not produce as the same amount of trash as we were producing previously. And you know, I can now say that we reduced it for about 95%. It was amazing to see how the pit displays were still looking good, but the students were taking all of the things they were using in whole luggage and not very big boxes that they could easily hand carry. So now that's something that we definitely will want to continue to do. So yeah, I mean, change is good. It's not random change. It's not that we just want to set our students with more work. It's all about progressing and where are we progressing next? Don't know, maybe for the next episode.
Oh, they left it on a cliffhanger there, Nelson Vale. I love that. Just before I come to Peter, I want to get Recoil Racing's perspective on that. The pit display constraints. How did you find those things that Nelson's spoken about? I guess, Amelie, is that a job that you had?
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a team project, the pit display, because yeah, it's not only about engineering, but about every part of the project. But I think, yeah, it was a really good idea to make the restrictions, and you see like a lot of approaches from different teams to meet these expectations. And I think it's very interesting to see how many innovative approaches there were. And I think we also had a really innovative approach with our projector. I really liked that. But also with, for example, the like paper and cartoon constructions, I think they were also very, very good.
Can you explain a little bit more about that projector in your pit display?
Yes, we use an ultra close distance projector and projected videos to our pit display, like the main the main the main part of the pit display. And you could just choose different videos from the manufacturing process to our Meet the Team video. And yeah, I think it was quite interesting.
That's great. I mean, it sounds brilliant. That, to me, that means you've got more space in your suitcase to take home gifts for friends and family on the flight home, rather than packing everything from the display. Timon, would you agree with that? Is that how you found it, the whole process with those changes and challenges that you had?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good that they actually changed it, not only because of sustainability reasons, but also because now that the pit display, you could do it in a reasonable amount of time for the point it's worth. Like before, there was always the expectations you had to build a really big pit display and ship it to Singapore, and it would cost a lot. It would take a lot of time for I don't know if it was 40 points back in the day, but it was not worth it. That I'm certain. So now it's actually worth the points that you give it, and yeah. So I like the changes as well.
All right, Timon likes those changes. Peter, Mr. Enterprise, when you look at what they've achieved and the points, do you agree with that?
100%. I think, 100%. They can hit those points. Look, it's all relative, right? With any competition, the top team is going to get around the 19-20 mark. So yeah, if they're hitting the criteria, that is the main thing. Read the scorecards, and then you can achieve the very best.
Be concise. Did anything stand out to you from the pit displays? We heard about the projector for Recoil Racing. Anything else stand out for you that you were like, wow, that's a very clever idea?
With the pit displays, I wasn't judging pit displays, although we were having our interviews at the pit displays. We weren't looking at it as the main thing. There was one team, I think, I don't want to get the name wrong, but they had kind of corrugated sort of sheets as the material for their pit display. I thought that was quite cool. That stood out to me. And there was Nightingale from the UK that had a pump-up system at their track. That was pretty cool. That's all I can remember. But yeah, the World Finals were a few months ago now, almost. So
they
struggle to remember.
It always happens, but that's kind of a good thing, because every team that wasn't there, will have to come up with innovative ideas. Marlene, what's that one thing that from the challenges? I kind of want to know, before I ask Nelson about challenges and things that are coming up, the best challenge that you overcame as a team in this competition?
There were many challenges. I'd say for the engineering part, it was definitely that moment with the car where we had to change the idea. But maybe it was when we had summer holidays and we were, for example, I was on vacation, and still I worked for the project, and we had to communicate like in different time zones, and then I think that communication was very difficult.
A working holiday is what that sounds like, a working vacation. That is when, as Peter says, you need to be as concise as possible with an email. I'm on holiday at the moment. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Right, let's talk to Nelson again. Nose cone challenge, halo deceleration system, pit display constraints. How did these go down in your opinion? And will they be permanent additions? I know you won't want to give away too much, Nelson, but what can you tell us?
Well, I can only give you my personal opinion at the moment. I definitely think that the nose cone challenge was great. We didn't have all the teams implementing it. I think, sometimes it can be a little bit scary to just go, that's another thing that we need to do. We had, I think, around 20 teams doing it, and it was great. We even have videos of it that I'm sure Rebecca will publish those soon. The halo deceleration system, I think that was great. I think that was one of the best things coming out of the event. The whole F1 in Schools development team, and with the input of our cheddar judges, Gary Anderson, I think we came up with a very good solution in terms of how to stop the cars, reducing the number of breakages. And I think it was very visible that not many teams had to fix cars when using the Halo acceleration system, especially on the impact on the front wings and rear wings. You know what's coming next? Like I said before, Tom, I think I need a special episode just for that. No, but that's just my excuse of saying that the technical group, after every event, we reconvene and we discuss and we take on board the opinion of all our stakeholders. You know, from students, teachers, to in-country coordinators, from judges. There's always stuff that we can improve. From scorecards to processes, how we do things in the track. I know that there were some challenging moments in the track because of the time that it was taking it. We are already taking that on board to make it a little bit more smooth for the next event. We already have ideas on how to make it faster. We'll probably have to reduce your intervention for about 90%. No, I'm just joking. We love your interaction with the team, Tom, and that would not be the way that I would be saving time.
Well, just on that, Nelson, one of the biggest implications that we do have as the whole production is there's an online community watching live. We have the in-person, and trying to marry all of that together. I don't know who makes the schedule, who sits down and analyzes where teams will be. If they're in this judging, that means they can't be there. I don't know how you do that. That probably, for me, an outside perspective, was one of the biggest challenges, making sure everyone has a clear knowledge of where they need to be and how you manage to do that. Who does actually do that, Nelson?
Well, it's a joint effort between several F1 schools, team members. I mean, from timetable, we have our great John Fagg helping with the timetable, but it's a team effort. But look, I just want to say, Tom, that you have raised the level of the F1 schools show, definitely, in the World Finals by the way that you interact with the teams. And I think the teams appreciate those 5 minutes of fame being broadcast to the world, being able to speak with their families and their friends and their sponsors and supporters around the world during our webcast. So that's something that we definitely want to continue to do. It's more about processes in terms of competition, that if racing is taking too long, we need to look in terms of how do we time save some processes to make it run faster. So that's on the technical side. That's where I'm worried, and that's what I'm focused on. Judging wise, again, judging is a number of teams is also challenging, and we are taking consideration suggestions from judges and from teams. So we're also going to make that process better, because in the end, we want to be fair and continue to choose the best of the best.
I suppose that leads itself to the sheer scale of the competition. And I appreciate your very kind words, Nelson. I was watching Recoil Racing faces there. Those moments of how you describe fame, I love the running out. That was the first time of an event where it was it felt like it was something from real life F1 or esports world, where the teams would run out. I think it was only Adventum, the Irish team, that slipped up. I believe there might have been one other team that sadly stumbled in the sheer speed that they were running out. What was that like, Recoil Racing, when you ran out when your name was announced?
I think it was pretty cool. Like when we first saw how it was to be done during the opening ceremony or the introduction, we're like, whoa, it's actually like a real movie. It's like a real game show or something when we run in. And we always wanted to make an impression to the camera, to scream Recoil Racing or Team Germany or something. And actually one time we didn't come in at the right time. I don't know if you remember, Tom.
I wasn't going to bring it up, Timon. I wasn't going to bring it up.
Yeah, but it was a bit confusing because some of the other team members weren't there, and then our name was called, and we were all just, what are we about to do? Should we run in? Should we wait? And then we just went in at some point, and I guess it was fine. But yeah, it was the running in always was a highlight, and the interviews in total, and then of course watching the race and hoping for a good time and a good reaction time.
Yeah, one of the teams that took quite a long time to get through that tunnel. I don't know if you remember, a brilliant team from Thailand. Asani, who had a huge inflatable mascot that bounced along. Myself and Amy would announce the team and then knew that it would be another 3 or 4 minutes before they finally arrived for an interview. But I think you all did a brilliant job of running out and enjoying that movie-like moment that you mentioned. Okay, a few other questions that I'd like to get. I'd like to get to the listeners' questions. They've got a few here. But just final thought from Recoil Racing, in terms of the sheer scale and the amount of teams, what did you love about that?
It's okay. So I really loved meeting the other teams. Looking back, I would have loved to talk even more with other teams, even though maybe we wouldn't have had any more time. But it was just amazing to meet so many people your age that are interested in similar things, and they're like really innovative thinking, intelligent, and yeah, it's just really, really amazing to meet so many people your age from all around the world.
What about you, Timon?
I think for me as well. I mean, after the first 2 days, like some teams went up to me and asked why we're not joining social activities. It was because we were sleeping or preparing for interviews. But after that was done, we were engaging and staying at the pool till 2 o'clock and talking with the other guys. I mean, especially like there were so many fun people, the Australians, the Irish people, but also like the French people. It was also so much fun. And yeah, I think I started too late to look at the pit displays of other teams too. Like I was going around and looking at them and let them explain to me what they thought about their design, and like we could discuss new ideas on how to design a car at the World Finals, and that was really amazing.
It was definitely one melting pot of so many ideas and so many talented, creative, innovative people all in one space. You're never going to get to meet everybody. Marlene, mentioning the after party, the pit lane walk, meeting all the teams, favorite moments for you from the competition?
I think also the competition days when we were discussing every team's works with them, and like when you could have a look at other teams' portfolios and discuss like detailed things about that. I think that was one highlight, because it's just so interesting to see all the ideas from all over the world. And yeah, also that.
And finally, Benno, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I enjoyed the competition days really, really a lot. Not even it's not like only about the free time, like at the afternoon or the evening. Even the competition was like always fun. You always had to do something, and if you had like a break between judging, you could always talk to teams. And I think it was just really engaging and an awesome experience.
Okay, and a highlight for you? Maybe meeting any of the drivers. Did you manage to do that on the paddock? That's what everyone wants to know.
Yeah, well, I've got a selfie with Hamilton. That was cool.
Not many people can say that, that's for sure, especially in a busy Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah, but that was just lucky because I was sitting in the shadow of the F1 houses, of the paddock houses. I was just trying to get rid of the sun. I was just walking by, and then I just took the opportunity.
That's amazing. That's now become one of my favorite highlights of the whole competition. Finding out Benno was just lurking in the shadows. That's how I remember that. And Lewis Hamilton appeared, and you got a selfie. Brilliant moment. Apart from being locked in the room, Peter, highlight for you from the competition?
100% the pit lane walk. Yeah, I mean, I was sitting next to a judge on the bus, and he said it was the best one that he had been to, the pit lane walk, in his years of judging. So yeah, that was definitely the highlight for me. What a fantastic way to cap off the week.
And Nelson, the Nelson selfie, is that a highlight, or was there another thing that stood out for you?
Oh, the selfies are always one of my favorite memories. And it's just a pity that I don't have the time to do a selfie with every single team. But I think, highlight of the event for me was just see the happiness of teams coming back into again full normal event, where judges were there, teams were there, racing was happening, and it was just a feeling of coming back to normal, and also the response of all the teams to the challenges that we threw at them, and the halo, rethinking the pit displays and all of that. I think it was a very, very good event. And if I was gonna give a word to all of the World Finals competing teams, I don't want to sound too lame, but they are all champions. They're all champions because they managed to go, they managed to raise the funds, and God knows that's not easy. But regardless of the country that you are, I mean, getting the funds, doing the work, getting there when hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other teams didn't actually manage to be there because they didn't conquer the place through their events or because something failed last minute. All of those 68 teams really deserve a huge congratulations for being there. So for my humble word, they're all champions.
I couldn't agree more with you, Nelson. There's a few teams that have actually privately messaged on Instagram. I haven't got around to Recoil Racing yet, so don't panic, guys. But just to say, whatever they go on to do in life, they will achieve so much because of the experiences they've had from F1 in schools. And to just say, you've already got it. You've got the secret recipe, and now just go and do whatever you go and do, because you're going to have all of those tools to succeed, which I absolutely love. And I'm glad that no one mentioned me announcing the winning team before Crofty did at the World Finals and the awards. Don't worry about it. I'm absolutely over that. We don't have enough time. I'd love to have a podcast to discuss where I went wrong and made mistakes, but we have some questions from some of the listeners, and I will go to Benno with this one. What advice would you give to the teams who are participating in the next season? And I'll come to Peter with that, and Nelson.
I think it's just the most important thing is to be innovative, to trust yourself, try something new, and to always stick to the scorecards. Whatever you do, always stick to the scorecards.
Peter, you mentioned earlier
100%. 100%. I echo that. Look, read the scorecards. That's the most important thing. And also be concise. As I said before, I said this to every single team we give feedback to. We'd love to have 2 hours to read every single portfolio, 2 hours each per portfolio. But if you do the maths, 2 times 17, that's 34 hours. We don't have that much time. So being concise, perhaps consider using, other ways such as graphics to be able to convey the information, because the quicker we can decipher something as a judge, the better and the more likely you are to get the marks. So, be concise. That's the main thing.
Top stuff there. Nelson?
I guess work as a team and carefully manage your time and don't get super glue into the bearings. Those are my 3. Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah.
Top stuff. Good. Anyone else? Anything that we've not mentioned there before we move on with the listeners' questions?
Yes, I'd say it's also important to just have fun doing the project. Like, it's not all about getting those points, but it's important to have like a team you're very comfortable with. Well, I like my team very much, and I think that helped, definitely helped a lot in the project. And yeah, just to have, like, if you have fun ideas and they're not getting you points in the scorecards, I think that's not too bad to do or to realize those ideas, because it also is about it's about the fun in the competition. And yeah, I think that's important too.
One quick question from me. Was anybody able to eat the food provided just before the awards? I'm just curious. I found it very difficult. Does anybody else want to answer that? There was so much lovely food, but I couldn't eat. How was everyone else?
Actually, we divided ourselves in shifts. so everyone could go and eat. And every time someone came to our pit display, like we wanted to talk to, or someone was there, we all got together and talked to them. And then everyone went to their shift again. So everyone had a chance to eat for 10 to 15 minutes.
Structured fun. Bella, were you able to eat just before the awards?
Yeah, that was like the only time I could eat during the competition, because otherwise we always had someone at the pit display talking to us, some kind of judging, feedback sessions. So that was like in 4 days, I think, yeah, in 4 days, the only time I actually had some through the awards, before the award ceremony.
You mentioned it earlier on, Nelson. Singapore, it was my first time in Singapore. It's a phenomenal country. I absolutely loved it. Did you manage to eat just before the awards, Nelson?
No, look, the food, I think, it's a lovely country to eat. The cuisine is outstanding, and I think the teams, making this a little bit more serious, need to, and stress management is very important, and the mental health and physical health of our students is also very important to us. We don't want anyone to feel too stressed to the point of not being able to eat, and this is not just before the awards, before any of the activities. So it's important to as a team to back each other, and above all, and from the words from Marlon, have fun. Have fun. You need to find the right balance of having fun, enjoying yourselves with your team, and also feel the stress of life, because you're going to be put under stress and under pressure in whatever you do in your future. So yeah, F1 schools, like no other challenge, accomplish that, but prepares our students like no other competition for life.
While I've got you, Nelson, there's a question here from a listener that says, where will the next World Finals be? Now, after a very serious point, have a bit of fun with that question, Nelson, and give us the answer now, please. This is the exclusive. Everybody listening to the Main Straight, the official F1 in Schools podcast. Where will the World Finals be next year?
Portugal.
Okay.
Because I could go home and enjoy a little bit of the sun, and there's nice beaches, just say nice food. Judenford, if you're listening, Portugal, because it doesn't have a Grand Prix. No, I think that the political response, but the right response is right now we are looking to different options. For the students to understand, it's not just we want to go there and it just happens. A lot of stars need to be aligned, and a lot of contracts need to be signed. And until we have all those stars aligned and contracts signed, we simply cannot announce, because we would love to go to one place and then it doesn't happen and we're disappointing people. So when we are ready to announce, we will do it, and I hope it is soon. I mean, we always try to align it with the Grand Prix, and it's just to give the experience that we gave in Singapore with the pit lane walk, with the students to be able to enjoy the Grand Prix week and after. So you have a race calendar for 2024. You can try and guess, but it's also about trying to align with the global school calendar, and that's not easy, to try and find a moment where you don't upset many people and you try to make sure that it's just going to work. After the summer it works, and to be honest, that's always the point of the calendar, that we try to align it. I mean, look at all the places that we've been in the past. We've been in the US, we've been in the UAE, we've been in Malaysia, we've been in Australia. We haven't gone back to Australia for quite a while. But it's all about trying to find the right place. I just said that, and Tom, because I've never been to Australia. I'm just hoping for someone to invite me to go there, maybe into the next national final.
Right. Listen, I'm picking up clues from what Nelson is saying. I'm hearing
Portugal,
he's saying Portugal. I'm also hearing Viva Las Vegas. I'm also hearing Australia. Love it. Okay. There's 2 more questions here. And thank you very much for your time, guys. How are the awards evaluated? Who should I come to for that? I guess maybe Nelson?
Yeah. I mean, you can start with me, and then Peter can be my my proof. A group of judges works really, really hard to assess all of the submitted project elements. We try to be fair with everyone. The judges are divided into streams. There's stream leads. There's lead judges. There's a chatter judges. There's a line in works when any issues are arise that he goes through. But above all, we try to fairly judge and moderate all of the work. And like Peter has been mentioning, it's not easy to read all of the documents, but we try the best that we can to, in the end, figure out which ones deserve to win which awards. There are awards that come out of points. There are awards that come out of nominations. But even with that, we always try to be fair. And it's not one guy's decision. It's a committed decision for us to try and make sure that all the right teams are recognized. There's always going to be a little bit of a feeling of injustice of there's so many teams and such few awards that another team could have won that award or another team could have been recognized as a nomination. But we do our best and we try to be as fair as we can with the teams. Peter,
anything to add to that?
Yeah, just adding on to that, and from the judging perspective, when we moderate, we first of all we do all the interviews, we give them all scores, and then we moderate between the streams in order to keep it fair, as Nelson was saying there. And when we moderate, that takes a bit of time. As I was saying earlier, you do feel the pressure of trying to keep it fair, and really respecting. And that's when we really drill down into what the teams have done, their portfolios, looking at what they've said in the interviews. And we try to keep it fair between the streams, because obviously what I might give a mark for one team might not be what another panel of judges might give, and we try to keep it consistent. And that process is very fair. If there's any kind of doubt about whether the process is fair or not, I can 100% assure you it's completely fair. So the judges put in the time to make sure we are being fair to everyone. So it's a very fair process.
This is a difficult question. I feel like they want gossip. Whoever's asked for this question wants the gossip, the juiciness of the competition here. Were there any common mistakes made by teams? And we have the winning team with us, but are there any common mistakes that were made that maybe if you just heed this one bit of advice from this podcast, this is that one thing? What common mistakes that were made that stood out to you, Nelson?
I don't think any teams make mistakes on purpose. I mean, a common mistake may be just by teams not finding enough time to prepare for specific bits. Like racing is a good example. It's difficult to think about this, but you need to think and realize that not all of the teams that participated in the World Finals have a racetrack. And we may feel that a common mistake is a team going with a car to the racetrack and basically they didn't have many chances to test their car race, and then the car broke by a specific reason, by manufacturing issues or assembly or etc. And we may think, they just didn't prepare for it. It's again a combination of factors between testing and having the time to test and having the resources to test. That was a very common mistake in the past when cars were breaking, when we were saying the team did not prepare the car for the acceleration system, when it was in particular the brushes. With the hell of the acceleration system, that problem kind of went away. But if I went again, just as a funny fact, a few teams, when they are in the pressure of assembling their car and super glue is used, it's very, very common for that little drop of super glue to slip into the bearing and then the wheels struggle to spin. It's just a kind of a fun fact, but it's something that happens from regionals to nationals and even in the World Finals. So again, from Nelson, just be careful with the super glue.
Love that. What a great way to round up this brilliant episode. I do want final thoughts from everybody. What happens next for you, Nelson? I know you have loads of work to getting on with and getting ready for that trip to Las Vegas. Whoops, I let the cat out of the bag there. But let's start with you, Benno. What happens now?
school and then university.
And any ideas? F1 in schools inspired you to go on to something?
I'm actually trying to get the scholarship we won, so that would be awesome when it works out. And besides that, my plan is to go judging, and first of all at regionals, nationals, and maybe world finals sometime.
There you go, Nelson. That is the interview done and dusted. That's Benno signed up for next year. Peter, what about you?
Well, I've just had the state finals last week, and I had 4 amazing teams from my school go there and compete. So look, we're preparing for next year now for the state finals next year. So yeah, shout out to those teams as well. I'm really proud of their effort as well. And yeah, it's great. You know, I've been a student now as a team, and now I've been a judge, and now I'm running it as kind of like a teacher, so to speak. So yeah, no, I've just loved that. So yeah, running F1 in schools is my next step for me.
Wow. I like that. I feel we all heard him there, Peter, say he's now becoming the CEO of F1 in schools. Like it. Top stuff there. Marlene, what about you?
For me, it's first finishing my school. What's it called? My Abitur. I don't know if there's a translation. It's like the
A-levels.
The A levels, yes. And then after that, I want to do like a social year of, I don't know how to translate that either.
Well, I feel like you want finally a vacation.
It's like a gap year, but you do social you do social work basically.
Okay.
And I want to do that in France, and then after that I'm going to study, and I think probably maths.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Basically, we've learned there very, very quickly, Marlene, it is not one for actual holidays in any way, shape or form. It is all work-based and giving back. I love that. True inspiration there. Timon, what about you?
So for me, it's similar to Marlene. I'm going to do my A-levels. And for that, well, I have to actually do something for school this year. And after that, I'm probably going to study physics or something. And actually, I think that F1 in schools like brought me closer to this down, like more down this path, because before I was like more computer science, and now I've like realized how much you can learn in physics and how you can apply it to develop new products, and yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Oh, fantastic! And finally, Emily, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm also gonna finish school, and then I'm not really sure. I was always very sure about wanting to go into medicine afterwards, but now after F1 in school, I'm also like considering something more engineering. So yeah, we're gonna see where I am in 1 year, and of course, I'd also love to judge the regionals and national championships.
There you go. It's official. You're all signed to be judges in F1 in schools. Well, once again, to round out this show, incredible achievement from Recoil Racing. Congratulations on being the world champions for 2023. As we've heard, whatever you're going on to do now with more studying and finishing school, best of luck. To Peter, becoming the new CEO of F1 in schools. You heard it here first. And to Nelson Vale, and to everyone who's listened, thank you so much for joining this episode. We'll catch you next time on the Main Straight.